I think design should always start from the material. I don't believe design should start from a drawing. Once upon a time, that might have been the case where you would draw things up, and then you would maybe creatively think about the fabrication idea, and then you would work with textile designers, or you would go sourcing for fabric. But the world has changed so much today for somebody who's trying to get into the fashion business. And if you have a big atelier, a big design studio, and a lot of money, then you could actually collaborate with many fabric companies, textile designers to come up with stuff. But when you are a person who is entering the design field and you don't have access to those kind of resources, I think we should then rethink the way we work. To me, when I design, I may draw concepts. Because I love pattern making, and because of that, I may design patterns. I may design pattern concepts. I might do that. And in order for me to do that, I don't really need the fabric in front of me. I don't even need to imagine the fabric in front of me, because when you're doing something that is very pattern and pattern design, your mode of thinking is very different. You are not exactly designing a garment. You're actually designing all these various components that come together that make a pattern, and then the patterns come together to make the garment. So the thinking is a little bit different. The approach is a little bit different. But to me, for designers who are not thinking like that, I think it all should start from the material. That means before you even start sketching, you should walk around the streets and visit different types of fabric shops. It doesn't have to be anything particular. It could just be anything that you find. And start hunting around, looking around, spend some time, and you will see that some of the fabrics will jump out at you, because you may find something very interesting and you might say, wow, I think that's really nice. I think I should buy a couple of meters of that because I think I could make something out of it. That would be a nicer approach, because see what they would start from a sketch and they would work very hard trying to find the material to conform to that sketch. Now they think that, oh, that is the sketch that was approved by the teacher, so I must go and hunt high and low and find some kind of fabric to make it work to that sketch. I think that's wrong. Each one is very different, and I think the designers have their own strength. Like some people might be very good at sketching, and then they know how to go and pick the fabric to match their sketch. Whereas there are other designers who are not very good at sketching, but they are very good at going and picking up materials that they could beautifully turn into something very gorgeous, like something very, very out of the world. And as a designer, you should have that flexibility to approach design from every angle possible, including roads that nobody has taken, and come up with your own idea, your own signature, your own touch that you are bringing to the fashion, to the fashion story, the fashion arena. So to me, when I design, I always like to have the fabric in front of me, because I allow the fabric to dictate a little bit of the design ideas. So I may have some kind of idea in my head, but I'm not very firm on the idea, because when I have the fabric in front of me, I want the fabric and my idea to kind of meet somewhere. Now, I don't know where they will meet, and I just let it be like one of those things where I remember there was this beautiful jazz musician. I'm so sorry I forgot his name at this point. And he used to be a saxophone player for Bruce Springsteen in New York, in the United States. And he said this thing in the interview once. Sadly, he passed away now, but I remember him saying, and I thought it was so cool, like he would play something, and he said that, you know what, I don't have the notes in my head. I know I can play them, but I don't have the notes in my head. The notes are just there floating in the air. And I just play it, and somehow by luck or by God's blessing, that I'm able to pick the notes from the air, and it comes together as this beautiful tune. And that's how the tune gets recorded, and it goes into some kind of song, like it goes into different soundtracks. And I thought, I love the idea, the way he said it, because it was really, really true, the way he said it for music. And I think it's the same thing even for fashion design. Now, if you look at big designers, like if you, for example, my favorite is Armani. My favorite has always been Armani right from day one. If you look at an Armani show, one of the most magical thing about an Armani show is this. You could have the show, switch off the music, and it will still be successful. See, that's a very powerful show, because Armani, every garment, if you notice, it's not much about design, but it really has to do with fabrication. His approach to fabric, the lightness of it, the colors, the mixture of colors, he knows exactly how it will fit on the model, how it will flow on his customer. So his approach is very, very fabric oriented. If you look at any of the shows, you will see that his fabrication is very, very top notch. And to me, I like designing that way. For me, when I design, I want to make sure that I have my fabric in front of me, and I will allow my fabric to dictate certain things that will somehow turn into the garment that I'm hoping it will turn into. So do I make mistakes? Absolutely, of course, every time. But as I do this again and again, I get better and my mistakes get reduced, because I already know what the fabric is going to do or what the fabric is going to say. For example, if you look at this particular fabric right here, it is like a red plaid. But if I look at it, the fabric is a little bit on the stiff side. There's a certain softness to it, but it's definitely not silk. And the nice thing about the fabric is it has a little bit of a see-through feature on it. One of the characters of this one is a little bit of a see-through. So if I was making a jacket, I probably would make the sleeves single layer, but the body double layer. So that way you cannot see through the body as much, but you can see through the sleeves. A very simple jacket could be made out of this fabric by using single layer and double layer technique. But there's another thing about this fabric that I like, that it has a plaid. That means it's like a check pattern, and the checks are slightly different. That means there's a check going this way, up and down, and then there's a check going sideways. But when I am patterning, I would actually like to think that if I could turn this fabric at an angle, not true bias is a perfect angle, right? But I would turn it slightly just on the sleeves or on the body, just to give it that little bit of an off angle feel. So that means the rule is to keep it on grain. As best as possible is to keep it on grain. That is the rule of pattern making and cutting any kind of fabric. But in this particular case, because the check is kind of small, what I would do is I would actually angle the fabric a little bit. I would angle it a little bit, so that way when I cut it, you would feel that, wait, it's awesome, but there's something wrong. Even though it is so beautiful, it's because of the slight angle. And I would be very selective on where I put the angle. I might put it on the sleeves, or I might put it in the body. I might put it on the sleeves and the body, but not on the lapel of the jacket. But I would play around with such ideas. But you see, I would not know of such things if I did not have this fabric in front of me. Of course, I could imagine it, I could sketch it out and imagine it, but nothing is better than having the material in front of you as best whenever possible. So my advice to people who are designing clothes is, yes, I want you to focus on your drawing a little bit, because ideas are there and there's a lot of things that you can flesh out and think out on paper, but have the material in front of you, because your idea and your concept will come together so much more faster when you have the material in front of you. So Thank you for watching this lesson. I hope you learned something, and see you in the next one.